Let's start with Chelsea versus Southampton. Saturday, 10 p.m. kickoff. Yeah, it's a big game for Frank Lampard. They went into the break, Chelsea, on a high with a 4-0 thumping of Crystal Palace. The two Germans we mentioned did all right, Bob Holmes, in the international break. Is the pressure on Frank Lampard, you think?
Yes, it is. Inevitably so, after spending so much money. He had more or less a free ride last year, didn't he? With not being able to sign players in the previous window and all that sort of thing. But he's got it now, and he's got even more of a problem because he's got more of them fit. Pulisic and Ziyech are finally fit after lengthy absences. So he's got two more players, attackers, to try to fit into his squad. So we'll inevitably see yet more experimentation. So it'll be fascinating to see the lineup and what changes he makes and what happens. And but the sod's law for poor old Frank, his goalkeeper's injured. I mean, can you imagine after all the saga with Kepa and putting in Caballero, and then they go and get a guy who looked reasonable in his debut, but he's injured and he's extremely doubtful. So
no pressure on Kepa this weekend.
Well, it looks like Kepa will get the nod because he did play for Spain in one of the games.
Kept a clean sheet
and
as
did
well.
okay.
Yeah,
he far better than he played for Chelsea. So I guess we could well see him. And if he plays a blinder, does he keep his place? Yeah. I wonder. But seriously, this is going to be a good test because Chelsea still haven't really sorted out their defence. And although Thiago Silva looked better in his second game, much better than his first game, they're not that solid there. And Southampton have got the players to trouble them. I mean, Danny Ings, he came through the international break, not having exerted himself, only playing one game, but scoring. So that'll do his confidence the world of good. So they won't be taking Southampton lightly. But really, with all the players he's got to choose from, Chelsea should win this.
They should, and the Saints will be without Stuart Armstrong, Craig Marias. He tested positive for COVID-19, so because of that, Kieran Tierney of Arsenal had to self-isolate as well. Yeah, I mean, you've got all that playing off in the background, and then the Premier League managers need to be thinking, we need points here. Southampton have been 50-50. I mean, what do you think about them this season? Because they were going good towards the end of last season, weren't they?
Yeah, I like them. I think with Southampton under Hasenhuttl, they are a changed team. They play good football, but sometimes, they need to kind of pick their battles. And I think they saw that against Spurs, where, they were doing all right, but, with a high defense, a high line defense, they can easily get exposed. I think I'm surprised Hasenhuttl didn't realize it then, but, you got to pick your battles against certain teams, and you can play that way. That's fine. Against teams that are sitting back. But when you have, players like Son and Kane, you kind of just got to drop back a little bit, consolidate, make it a little bit harder. So I think it was a harsh lesson that. But I don't worry about Southampton at all. I think they've got good players, good manager, good identity about them. And I don't think this is going to be an easy game for Chelsea. I mean, you can talk about the big money that they've spent, the stars that they've got in their squad. Like Bob said, the core of that defense is still a worry for me. I don't think, Thiago Silva doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. Christensen doesn't. Rudiger, obviously, was linked with a move away. Tomori was linked with a move away. I think from what I've read, Tomori might even start this match alongside Silva. And he hasn't had a lot of football, if any, this season. And I just think with Southampton's attacking three, Che Adams is there. He doesn't really get the goals, but he's a handful. Yeah. He moves you around a lot. And I don't think Thiago Silva would like to face someone like that. A player that's running into the channels, pulling you here, pulling you there, getting physical with you. at 35, 36 or whatever he is. I don't think that's what he needs at that stage of his career. I think Southampton could pose a problem here for Chelsea. I really do.
Ooh, I'm smelling a big shout there from Chris.
I'm tethering on it. I'm not going to come out and say it just yet, but I don't think it'll be an easy game for Chelsea this.
It's Chelsea, Southampton, Saturday, 10 p.m. kickoff. Newcastle United take on Man United. It's a 3 a.m. game. Sunday morning, it's pay-per-view in the UK, which is another whole new kettle of fish, which we won't touch on just now, but we'll try and preview the game. Quiche, Alain Saint Maximin extended his contract in midweek. He's going to relish running against Harry Maguire, isn't he?
You remember what happened, Ross, the last time Newcastle offered someone a 6-year contract?
Pardew? Was it Pardew?
I think it was Alan Pardew.
It was 8 years.
8 years, my bad. Yeah, it was even longer.
Is it still running? I'm not sure. I mean, there was
I think it is.
I'm actually being serious here.
It's now he gets Sports Direct vouchers. For life.
Yeah, I mean, but Saint Maximin has been brilliant for them. Don't get me wrong. The 6-year deal did catch me a bit off guard. I think you rarely see 6-year deals anymore in football these days. Even young, extremely talented players at max, you see 5 years. But Saint Maximin has been absolutely brilliant, and I don't think it's just his ability on the pitch. I think he brings a certain type of character that has endeared him very, very quickly to the Newcastle fans, and they absolutely love him on social media. You every time he posts a tweet, you can see it's something that the Newcastle fans just instantly jump onto, and when you have a player that's able to do that for your club, after everything you've been through, you try your level best to keep him. And I think that's what Newcastle have been trying to do to keep Alain Saint Maximin. And as you said, Ross, if Harry Maguire plays this weekend, I'm telling you, he's going to be targeting him. Obviously, Saint Maximin primarily operates on the left, but he'll look at Maguire as a sign of weakness. He will look at the United defense as a sign of weakness. And I know I saw your status on Facebook, Ross, where you're prepping for the show and you're saying it doesn't feel good. Trust me, that's exactly how I feel heading into the weekend as well. It's this really rumbling feeling of uneasiness at the bottom of your stomach.
And I don't like it. We're only 4 games into the season.
Exactly. It's super annoying. But the reality is you're bound to feel this way after watching United's defense and how they capitulated against Spurs. That's my primary cause for concern at the moment. And then there's Paul Pogba. Is he going to start? Or are we going to finally give Donny van de Beek a chance to play in the starting 11? Yeah.
All valid questions. Plus, Bob Holmes, Ole has a decision to make up front.
Ross, sorry, I need to come and interrupt you there. I just just checked on that Alan Pardew contract, and it just expired this summer.
Oh, wow.
It just expired this summer. So, sorry, Bob, off you go.
He'll be looking for a job now.
Yeah, he need never darken a Sports Direct again. but Bob, just going into the break, I was just going to say, Ole's actually got a decision to make because Martial starts a 3-match ban. Cavani obviously self-isolating. Is he going to start Ighalo or is he going to do something different?
Well, he's got decisions to make all over the field, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But you've highlighted the front 3 or the front 1 or 2 as it stands. It's an interesting one. I think he may have to start with Ighalo. I mean, that's what he was bought for. He was brought in as an emergency kind of stopper, wasn't he? A stopgap, rather, player. And he did okay to begin with. I mean, he's big and awkward. He's got a reasonable touch for a big man. And, I think he was well worth the trouble of signing him. But not good enough to lead the line in a serious challenge at the top end of the Premier League table. But for occasions such as this, which is a bit of an emergency, I would go with him. Yeah. But he's got decisions.
Rashford pushed up front, and maybe someone like Dan James coming in on the left, or maybe even Donny van de Beek. You know, if Bruno's eligible to play.
Actually, those are probably the only options Ole has. It's either that or that, really.
Well, he's still got Mason Greenwood as well. Don't forget, who's naturally a striker, and then you can bring someone out on the right. So there are a few variations of it, but either way, I still feel that Donny van de Beek will be involved in some capacity.
You would hope so. You would hope so. But I think unless this there's a turnaround, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pochettino installed before Christmas. Honestly,
I think a lot of football fans have that sort of half their mind also feels like that.
That's keeping you going, isn't it? You United fans.
Well, they're one whooping away, right? And this weekend, if you're Saint Maximin, you're thinking, right, I'm having a go here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if there's another hiding like that, like the Spurs hiding, then Solskjaer's in deep trouble.
Bob, if Man United loses, they get the hiding. Newcastle Man United, then is a Sunday 3 a.m. kickoff. Right, on with our Matchweek 5 previews. And Tottenham versus West Ham is a Sunday 11:30 p.m. kickoff. Coming to you first, Craig Marias. A lot of talk about Gareth Bale, a lot of videos on social media this week about him in training and stuff. It's all set for him to make his second debut this weekend.
Yeah, Jose did say, wait for Gareth Bale until after the international break. And, the clips that Spurs have released, he looks like he's in good form. It's either that or Joe Hart has really declined as a goalkeeper. So you take your pick. But no, it's good. And when that signing was made, everyone was in awe. There is still something about him. He's still a good player who just never got given a chance at Real Madrid. Played well when he did. But now he's got something to prove, I think not only to Real Madrid, but to everyone out there, to really say, look, I'm still the same Gareth Bale that was in the Premier League 7-8 years ago. And I'm still worth another shot in the Premier League. It's just exciting times for Spurs because you got Son Heung-min in absolutely fantastic form as well. So he'll be on one side.
Form,
you'd expect Gareth Bale to be on the other. But Lucas Moura has been playing well as well. So it's a real dilemma, a good dilemma for Jose to have.
Do you reckon Lamella's recovered from that massive blow he got from Martial yet?
I heard he's still a doubt. So we'll see. Late fitness test is what they're saying from Spurs. But no, it looks like Spurs have finally got it sorted. It seems that way. If we go on their last few matches, they did get off to a rocky start, but looks like Jose's somehow made them play real attacking football.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's take this a little further, Bob Holmes, and let me ask you: is there a title challenge this season in this Jose Mourinho-powered Tottenham Hotspur?
Well, it's going to take Liverpool to implode, I think, and Man City to really not get it together at all. And then there could be. But I still think it'll be a two-horse race for the title. But the other two places in the top four, I think, are up for grabs. And Spurs have suddenly, after a diabolical start when they lost to Everton, they've turned it around. And signing Bale is quite a coup. And you look at that front three, if they're going to play as a front three, Bale, Kane and Son. Now that is as good as anybody's in the world.
Yeah.
That is absolute top draw. If they're all fit and firing. I mean, obviously with Gareth Bale, there's a big question mark about the fitness, but the potential is there. And Jose is even getting a tune out of Ndombele now. Yeah. So things are looking up for Spurs. And if they can stay fit and they can stay free of the virus and all the rest of it, they could be a force and they could well be in the mix for the top four. I think title, no, I wouldn't go that far.
All right.
But definite top four material.
Okay, well, Tottenham's opponents, West Ham, are no pushovers. They've been in good form recently, mainly because David Moyes hasn't been on the touchline. Well, he's back this weekend.
Captain Kane's son.
But what do you reckon, Keish? Can the Hammers do it? I mean, surprising, the last two results, that thrashing of Wolves, I mean, impressive wins as well.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think we can look at the Premier League. I don't think we can look at any team and say what someone can do and what they can't do. Because honestly, the way West Ham performed against Leicester just completely caught the Leicester side off guard. And this was, coming a week after Leicester had just smashed like 5 goals past Manchester City. So it's all a bit topsy-turvy at the moment. I think a lot of it will depend on who Spurs have on the pitch for this game, because obviously there's a lot of issues with some of the guys that went on international duty. Harry Kane is reportedly, complaining of muscle fatigue, and how Harry Kane has been absolutely crucial to Spurs' run of form under Jose Mourinho. Just the way he has been contributing for players like Son. I was looking at a bit of stats the other day. The kind of link up that exists between Harry Kane and Son is topping most charts when you look at combination play between two players in the Premier League. And a lot of it will depend on if Harry Kane starts. Because if Harry Kane is fully fit and he starts, then I think Spurs have more than enough to be able to dispatch West Ham. But I know this is saying a lot, but if Harry Kane isn't fit and he has to be dropped, I think he is so crucial to Jose Mourinho's style of play that if he doesn't feature in the game, I think Spurs take a huge a beating in terms of not having that option of creativity and that option up front, and then that could be something that West Ham will look to exploit.
All right, well, Arthur Masuaku should be fine to face Spurs, and West Ham have brought in Craig Dawson from Watford on loan as well. He could be in line to make his debut. Tottenham versus West Ham is an 11:30 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. For now, we move on to a Midlands derby here. Leicester City against Aston Villa, Craig Marias. Monday, 2:15 a.m. kickoff, this one. Leicester coming off the back of a disappointing 3-0 loss. Let's start with them. What's Rodgers got right and wrong this season for you, sir?
I mean, it's so hard to tell. It's been the craziest start to the Premier League. You thought Leicester had it all figured out, going playing Man City and winning so emphatically. And then, like you said, then you go play West Ham and you get trounced like that. And I think Brendan Rodgers is at that stage. And he must have watched that game, many a time over and thinking, what have we done wrong? What have we done differently? But what the difference was that they got hit on the counter-attack bad by West Ham. And with the plays that West Ham have, your Jared Bowens and, Mikel Antonios, running at you, when they're attacking in full flight, it's not going to be easy for any defender. So I think that's something that, Leicester really struggled with. The pace, the power that West Ham brought to the counter-attack, the transition, the quick transitions, getting the ball straight to someone like Bowen to carry it up the field. So I think, in that respect, I think Leicester got caught cold. So that's something they'll have to look at. And this is going to be very similar, man. This is going to be a good test for them because this is exactly how Aston Villa are going to play. Yeah. With Ollie Watkins, with Grealish, coming at you. John McGinn's is a very clever player, and if they can get the ball up to these two up there, don't forget they've got Ross Barkley as well, who can really carry the ball with pace as well. Villa are going to, if they play the same way that they did against Liverpool, we saw how they attacked Liverpool in that same kind of way that West Ham did to Leicester. There could be problems here. I'm actually going to go for an upset here. I'm going to go for Aston Villa win. I think they're going to follow up their victory against Liverpool with a win against Leicester.
Yeah, Keish, they're on 100% record. They played a game less. They started later, but we've already highlighted the fact that they've signed well in the window. Aston Villa, they brought in quality players who can make an impact, and they have. And of course, Jack Grealish is loving it at the moment, isn't he?
I think towards the tail end of last season as well, I remember us talking about the fact that if Villa can stay up, then they will really build on this because they've got really good players. When you've got players like Jack Grealish, when you've got Tyrone Mings at the back, you look at the kind of flair that they have in other parts of the pitch as well, and you think to yourself, it's not a bad side. You know, this is a side that not just stays up in the Premier League, but this is also a side that can cause problems to others. And they definitely, once they secured the survival, they went out there and they recruited absolutely well. Like Ollie Watkins has been terrific for them. Just the amount of pace that he gives them up front, he gives them a bit of an edge in the final third as well, something that they struggled with last season. And I think that the trump on the card is bringing in someone like Ross Barkley, who completely changes not just the dimension of your midfield, but completely changes the way Jack Grealish operates as well. Because now he's got this swagger partner alongside him.
Tell you what, Ross Barkley surprised me. He's a better tackler than I actually ever imagined. He actually puts a lot into that midfield, right?
Yeah, he works really hard as well, drops deep, helps out the defense when he needs to. And he's got that capacity to play the long diagonal balls as well. And this is where the combination that he had with Jack Grealish in the game against Liverpool completely destroyed players like Trent Alexander-Arnold in that game. And I think the way that they've recruited, the morale that they have at the moment, and the kind of football that they're playing, Villa are definitely good value for a win here.
Yeah, I think you just touching on that Grealish thing. You know, the positional change. You know, bringing someone like Ross Barkley in, it manages to push Jack Grealish further up the field, and he can do a lot more damage there. I think last season we saw a lot of Jack Grealish. Dropping really deep to collect the ball
outside his box,
left back, outside of his box, left back areas, and that's not where you want Jack Grealish. He's good enough to do anything, but he's going to do most of his damage further up the field. And now he can kind of almost stay up there, trust his midfielders to go back, pick up the ball, collect it, and get it up to him and Watkins. So it's a big change for Villa and the way they play, and it's so effective as we saw last time out.
All right, brilliant.
You should tell Gareth Southgate that. Where Jack Grealish should play.
Is Gareth Southgate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? That's for another show. Looking at Man City versus Arsenal. We heard Mikel Arteta kick off the show talking about Arsenal's new signing, Thomas Partey. He's set to make his debut here, Bob Holmes. He's a big signing. I mean, Arteta's been after him for a long time. Pressure is expected to make a difference immediately.
The pressure's on him, but I think he looks like the kind of guy that can handle it. And I wonder if City missed a trick here. I wonder if they should have got him, actually, because they need a physical presence. I mean, in midfield. That's one of their weaknesses. They've got quite a few, actually. But someone like that, who's absolutely at his peak, he's 26, I believe. He's not a kid anymore, but he's certainly got several years left in him at his best. So for what was not a huge amount, 50 or 60 million, wasn't it? Relatively modest amount for a player of his caliber. He could be the match winner. Or the match influencer here. Fascinating clash. But what I'd like to say, I was going to say before we got to this game, we're talking about a list of fascinating fixtures this weekend. And it's all because the Premier League is open to 20 clubs and not a closed shop, which those owners of Manchester United and Liverpool wanted to make it. I'd just like to make that point. Maybe there's not enough time to discuss that issue, but I'm glad it was rejected because this is fascinating. Every single fixture it's hard to call. Yeah. It's an open tournament, which is exactly what you want. And I'm sure the world's viewers, not just in the UK, but here in Malaysia, everywhere, they'll be watching these games and thinking, wow, this doesn't happen anywhere else. Everybody is gung-ho and going for it. And that's a tribute to the openness of the league.
Well said, Bob Holmes. I read a funny tweet. I got to talk about it regarding Project Big Picture. Somebody tweeted, hang on a sec. Liverpool and Man United lost a combined 13-3 at the weekend. They want to break away. They should be playing the championship, which I thought was very, very funny. All right, let's look at Man City, Keish. Question mark maybe over Kevin De Bruyne because he went off and didn't take part in Belgium's second game. I don't know if they don't have De Bruyne, it's massive. Yeah, this is master versus pupil in Pep versus Mikel.
Yeah, not having De Bruyne would be a massive, massive blow. This is a massive one for City because of how they went into the international break. There was that defeat against Leicester. And I remember talking to a few friends after that, saying that, okay, next week against Leeds United, it could be a real tricky fixture. And a vast majority of them just said, usually when a Pep Guardiola side gets trashed the way they did against Leicester, they respond with this magnanimous performance that just, captivates the entire world by scoring 7-8 goals in a game or something along that line. But after losing to Leicester, I thought they struggled against Leeds. It's full credit given to Marcelo Bielsa and Leeds for playing the way they did, for playing with the intensity that they did. But that game, City lacked ideas, just genuinely lacked ideas in the final third. And it's 2 games now that we've seen City sort of stutter. And what's even more important, what's even more palpable is the fact that in the aftermath of each of these last 2 games, you've seen a Guardiola that generally looked deflated in the post-match press conference.
Yeah.
And we're just 4 games into the season, Ross. It's going to be a long, long season for Pep Guardiola. And it doesn't get any easier with Arsenal because I think this Arsenal side with Thomas Partey have more than enough to cause them problems this weekend.
All right. Well, Sergio Aguero apparently is back in training, but it's too early for him. Raheem Sterling didn't take part in the international break, so he may be back. Now, Craig, Mikel Arteta had the better of Pep in the FA Cup semi-final last season. We saw a long ball tactic that Arsenal employed to great effect. I expect that it'll be more of the same, right?
Yeah, I fancy an upset here as well. I think Arsenal have looked fantastic. Carrying on the form from the tail end of last season, and under Arteta, they are playing in a certain way which suits the characteristics of the individuals that they brought. I'm still the only thing that worries me about Arsenal is their insistence on playing out from the back, which I still don't think that the players are very. If you can just tweak that and say, look, against City's press, maybe we don't do this, we don't play this way. Then I think they'll be all right, and like you said, just go for the long ball straight away. But I think they've recruited really well. I think obviously, keeping Aubameyang was key to whatever that Arteta was going to do. But like you say, they've followed that up with the signing of Partey. We've been crying out for that kind of midfielder for Arsenal for a long time. He's gone out, he's sorted it. Unlike, Wenger before him, unlike Emery before him, failed to really, nail down that, powerful midfielder. So I think he's done really well in the recruitment phase. I think, in Lacazette is firing, Nketiah is scoring goals as well. I think the loan signing of Ceballos is massive and key for them. I don't see any reason why Arsenal can't be positive about this and really have a go at City because, I just feel that the confidence that's in that dressing room right now, gives everyone the belief that, hey, look, we can actually go out and do this. And,
all right.
And against a shaken City as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So will the citizens kick off their title charge or will it be party time for Arsenal? It is a Sunday, midnight kickoff, Man City versus Arsenal. On to the Merseyside Derby we go. Everton versus Liverpool is a Saturday dinner time kickoff for us here in Malaysia, 7:30 p.m. I can't remember, Bob Holmes, the last time a Merseyside derby has been so anticipated by the blue half of Liverpool. I mean, they sit top of the table, and yet the visitors, Liverpool, visit as current champions. And you would say they're not favourites for the game.
Oh, they are favourites. Look at the bookies odds. They're still favourites. But I agree, it's not been like this for a very long time. It's 10 years since Everton won this fixture, and that was when Liverpool were almost going out of business, in complete disarray and practically bankrupt. I think a certain Roy Hodgson was trying to manage them at the time, so that might explain that. But a lot has been said that this is the moment for Everton, and they do fancy it. They've got the players to trouble Everton. I'm looking forward to seeing Calvert-Lewin up against Virgil van Dijk. I think that could be an absolute cracking private contest in the middle of the overall picture. But just as it's a good time for Everton, I think this is a good time for Liverpool to bounce back. And I think that Jurgen Klopp didn't have the players in for training the next morning. All he could do was send a WhatsApp message to everybody about the disaster of the 7-2 game at Villa. But so he's not been able to sort of have them and galvanize them and get the spirit up. But I think playing Everton, the local derby, even the foreign players will be well aware of the importance of this fixture. And Everton are very, very much up for it. So I think this will benefit Liverpool. There's no chance of any complacency creeping in here. I think they were complacent against Aston Villa, and I think they have been in other fixtures this season, against Leeds certainly. But I think this will decide whether the Villa game was an aberration or whether there's a deeper malaise in the Liverpool side that has finally been sussed. I think, i.e. the high line. And if you put a long ball over the heads of the fullbacks, they're in a bit of trouble. Basically, that's what's happened. But I think Liverpool know. You'll see the real Liverpool here. Their pride was hurt by that, and I think that they'll come storming back. So I still think Liverpool will win this. But it's not to say Everton are a bad side. I think Everton are also contenders for the top four.
All right. Well, it's been a week of celebrations for Liverpool. 5 years of Klopp, 10 years of FSG, apparently. So good for them. Will they be celebrating, though, Keish? They do have Thiago Alcantara back and available. And wow, what a player to be able to slot into this kind of game, eh?
Yeah, and I think having someone like Thiago Alcantara is like, honestly, one of the most important things for Liverpool this season, because you look at the way Leeds United completely went at them on match day one. Now, I think that result and the way Leeds played in that game had a significant influence on the way Aston Villa decided to go about their game against Liverpool. Because Leeds exactly showed the entire world that if you hit Liverpool at the right spots, you can make them pay. And that's exactly what Villa did. They didn't hold back. They completely pressed Liverpool at all the right areas, and they forced them into making the kind of mistakes. The thing is, Liverpool have got this fixed system under Jurgen Klopp, and it's a brilliant system. It's worked for them year in, year out over the last 3 years. It's just that it comes to a point where people start to figure you out. And it's good that now that teams are starting to figure them out, that they've got a wild card in the form of Thiago, who slots into that midfield and he is super different to every single midfielder that they have. And he gives them an additional bit of dimension that could very well determine the outcome of this game, because no one exactly knows how or the kind of role that he's going to play under Jurgen Klopp. All everyone knows is that they watched that 45 minutes cameo against Chelsea, but besides that, no one has an idea. So he could come into this game if he's fully fit and completely dictate the tempo of the match from the get-go and make life difficult for Everton.
All right, well, the Toffees are without a win in 19 league meetings with Liverpool, but, Craig Marias, this Everton are hoping to win their opening 5 league matches for the first time since 1938. Plus, they've got James Rodriguez, who's got beautiful hair.
He does, but he might also suffer from a bit of jet lag with all the traveling that he has to do. So we're still not sure how fit he's going to be, or how his body's going to react to that. And I think that's a little bit crucial for Everton and the way they're playing. I don't think they have anyone to come in to kind of replace the kind of flair that he brings to that Everton side, the vision that he brings. I like Everton. I think they've done really well. Fantastic start to the season. Great manager. Made some really good signings. Have definitely improved that squad. But for me, I just think we're going to get a response from Liverpool this weekend. I really do. If there's ever a game that they're going to respond to and say, hey, look, whatever happened last time out was a fluke. We're not, we're nowhere near that bad. This is it. There's nothing better. Everton fans had a great 2 weeks laughing, being top of the table, laughing at, their rivals, 7-2 drubbing at Aston Villa. But I think it ends tomorrow. I really do. I can't see. I think it'll be a tough game, but I just think Liverpool will have a bit too much about them, regardless if, Mane's fit or anything. I just think it's going to be a Liverpool day.
Okay, it's a 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Crystal Palace versus Brighton is a Sunday 9 p.m. kickoff. It is not necessarily known as one of the great derbies of the world, Bob Holmes, but you and I know it's the A23 or the M23 derby because both roads lead from South London to Brighton.
Yeah, a very unglamorous name for a derby, isn't it? And it's not a derby at all. I think we've said on the show before now, this is a very contrived derby. They're miles away from each other, 50 miles or so. And it all happened over a stupid incident between managers years and years ago. And it's just developed into what is quite a bitter rivalry, believe it or not. It has been quite nasty in the past when fans were allowed in. Mercifully, there won't be at this one, but another intriguing fixture because Brighton have been playing well and not getting the points. Yeah. Somehow Crystal Palace managed to eke out points by never playing well. Have you ever seen Crystal Palace play well?
Against Man United.
Oh, yes. So another fascinating clash. And I think Brighton are due a bit of luck. They deserve to beat Man United, but they didn't get the points. And their problem is goals, lack of them. If they just have somebody who could score, they'd be halfway up the table. Crystal Palace, they've got two main threats: Easy, who is a very good player, a very good signing, and Zaha. And looks like Zaha is stuck with Palace again for another season, or at least a half season.
He might settle at least until January.
Yeah, and then the rumours will start again. Yeah. So they might just have enough to keep themselves up again. But not a very attractive side to watch. Brighton are more attractive to watch since Graham Potter has taken over. He's transformed them, and we're beginning to see why he got the job over Chris Hughton. And so I would see Brighton nicking this one.
Okay, it's a Sunday 9 p.m. kickoff. Crystal Palace versus Brighton. Leeds United, who are great fun already after just 4 games this season. They are in action Monday night. They take on Wolves. Now, Wolves have been up and down. Big blow for Leeds going into this one, Kish, is that I read Liam Cooper and Diego Llorente picked up injuries on international duty. So it's not a massive squad Bielsa has. It's a worry going into this tie.
Yeah, Liam Cooper is the big. It will be a huge miss if he misses this one. He's that inspirational leader at the back, and bear in mind that in the first game against Liverpool, Liam Cooper didn't play as well, and they shipped in 4 goals that night. Obviously it was Liverpool, but they're up against Wolves, who are a pretty strong side in the offensive department as well. Raul Jimenez will fancy himself going up against the lead defense. But don't get me wrong, as much as Liam Cooper will be a miss, and I'm saying he will be a huge miss, I think when you're dealing with a side like Leeds and you're dealing with a manager like Marcelo Bielsa, you're not fighting individual players, you're fighting a system. you're going up against a cohesive unit. So, whoever steps in and sits in and replaces Liam Cooper at the back will just sort of slot into a pre-existing system that has been designed to bring out the best out of players like Calvin Phillips and everyone else in midfield as well.
Now, apparently, Liam Cooper isn't that injured. Apparently, he would probably play for most clubs going into this weekend, but he's not fit for a Marcelo Bielsa.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a testament to the kind of intensity that Bielsa demands out of his players as well. Because if you're going to be fit to play in the starting 11, you have to be fit to be running 120 minutes, to be running 13, 15 kilometers throughout the duration of 90 minutes, and that's the kind of intensity that he demands. So it won't be surprised to see the likes of Luke Ayling or Pascal Street come in to sort of replace Liam Cooper at the heart of the defense. I'm just every Leeds game, Ross, it's just not worth missing. You have to watch every Leeds game. It's just come to that point where when you see Leeds on the telly, you do nothing but sit down and watch. They're just so exciting to watch. In fact, the intensity at which they run forces you to grip onto your sofas, and you just can't take your eyes off them because they're such a cohesive unit. And I can't remember the last time I've watched a championship side come up and just torment every team the way they have tormented so far. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Well, how much is Alvin pay you for that plug?
Come on.
Well, Wolves were that championship team not too long ago. I tell you what, Nuno Espirito Santo will probably be quite pleased that it's a Monday night game. He's got Raul Jimenez, Craig, coming back from Mexico. The Spaniard, Adama Traore, played a lot during the international break as well. So he wants his players back and fit. Again, Wolves haven't got a big squad either.
Yeah, that's not even the most worrying thing about this squad. Cristiano Ronaldo obviously contracted coronavirus over the last few days. And I'm just waiting to see how that affects, the rest of the Portuguese squad, because a large section of them play for Wolves. And now, how that affects them coming back to England with the quarantine. I think there's a little bit of uncertainty there from our point of view anyway. So it'll be really interesting to see this press conference by Nuno and just see, what his take on it is. But, he really needs a full-strength squad up against his Leeds side, I mean, I'm not going to say any more on Leeds because Keish pretty much covered it all and more. But Wolves really need a response. We've given them a lot of credit to the way they played, the players that they brought in. And now, no one saw the result against West Ham coming. That was kind of out of the blue. But they really need to come out, Wolves, and really, by beating Leeds, they put a kind of marker. And I know it's weird to say because, Leeds are a newly promoted side and on paper they should be, trouncing them and everything. But like you said, Leeds aren't any normal, newly promoted side. Yeah. They seem like they're a established Premier League side already. And that's obviously down to the coaching that they received from Bielsa. So I think this is a big game for Nuno and Wolves, in terms of seeing how they're going to be this season, because we've seen how teams can, have a really good season, really impressive, and then kind of slowly tear down. I don't think Wolves are that kind of team. They're not a Sheffield United, but they, with a lot of teams improving this season, a lot of teams, your Evertons and your Spurs and everything, Wolves won't have it as easy as they did last season for me. So if they're still battling to kind of be in that European contention, Europa League, for example, not Champions League, I don't think they're there yet. They could have a real battle on their hands.
All right.
Yeah, they're going to miss Diogo Jota as well.
Yeah.
I just wonder if this could be the first case of a club appealing for a postponement. Because if Wolves find that they've got half the team, i.e. the Portuguese players, testing positive for COVID, which could happen given what happened to Ronaldo, if they would ask for a postponement, and whether it would be granted. It could even be a test case. We just have to watch this space.
Indeed.
I do think. I mean, what is it? Six players from them?
Yeah.
Is it roughly around there?
Let's face it. Who wouldn't be close to Ronaldo on international duty? You go. Listen, can I have an old sweaty top of yours, please? You know what I mean? All right, brilliant stuff. It's a 3 a.m. kickoff. It is not to be missed. Leeds United against Wolverhampton Wanderers.